Hi, Jason Walker here, Walker Tea Review, and yes, we are tasting teas, and part of really being able to enjoy a good tea is knowing how to appreciate the tea and knowing where a tea comes from. And today we've got a tea that is from China, but it's from an area that historically our best indication shows that this was the location where Japanese Buddhists came to China to learn about Buddhism and carried Chinese teas back to Japan and developed early Japanese teas. So this is one of the significant or key birthplaces of tea. And our tea is from HarneyJinShan.909. This is a Jinshan tea. It's a green tea. We're going to be looking at that. And because it is a traditional kind of tea, we have a traditional way of preparing it. We have our Chinese gaiwan here, so we're going to go ahead and get that one ready and start. We'll be using my fingers here because this is a very kind of a long, loose, very curly type of green tea. It's you can see it's going to get kind of fluffy. It's not going to fit onto our spoon that easily. So we've got here a very fluffy teaspoonful. I'm going to add that because that's going to cover the bottom surface of our gaiwan, which should be enough. Or you know what, just toss in a few more. Okay, we're going to be talking about as we appreciate this tea together. We've talked a little bit about the history, but we're also going to be tasting this tea and enjoying all the aspects of our tea. The dry leaf, the aromas that come, the colors that we can appreciate, the wet leaf as well, the smells that are released as it comes in contact with our hot water. And then of course we'll be drinking it, which is of course many people jump straight to the drinking without appreciating some of those nuances of the other steps. So we've got our tea ready. We've got our water that has come close to a boil, has been cooling as we've been talking here. So we want a lighter, lower heat temperature. Any suggestion? The general suggestion is like 180. Yeah, this one also says 180. So we're going to go ahead, get this ready, and then we'll be able to talk a little bit more. You may also want to begin at this point to talk about your dry leaf, noting the aromas that come off of your dry leaf, the colors and shapes of your dry leaf. Now, again, with our gaiwan, and this is a gaiwan from Grand Teas. It's about 80 milliliters. Let me set that down. An 80 milliliter gaiwan, or a gaiwan like this, I should say, has your lid, and if you filled the water level properly, you should be able to get a very light, yeah, I'm getting a little bit of a seal. The water should kind of rise up above the outer rim of the lid, creating a seal. This traps in more of the heat, allows your tea to steep a little more consistently, and we have that. So we're going to set that aside, let that steep for a while, so we can talk a little bit more about this dry leaf. Again, this is from HarneyJinShan.909. 4 ounces runs $39. You can find it on Harney's website. Again, this is from Jinshan. It's labeled here and on the website J-I-N, but I believe the standard pinyin, which is the alphabetized version of Chinese, would most commonly be J-I-N-G. There's a link for a map below, so that clarifies why it's J-I-N on your package, J-I-N-G on your map. Jinshan is in Zhejiang province in China, and again, this was most likely the source of teas or Buddhist monks from Japan coming to China, coming to the Buddhist temple there in Jinshan, learning about Buddhism and taking tea back with them. Why? Because the Buddhist monks found that tea enhanced their spiritual practice. Tea has been connected with spirituality. Some would even say as wine has been connected to Christianity in the West. Tea allowed them to have a clearer a clear, more alert mind during meditation. And many people, even today, still enjoy teas for that exact same reason. It gives them a sense of clarity and alertness in their work without giving a jittery feel to it. So let's talk a little bit about our dry leaf now. Some of the things we're going to notice first are, of course, is our aromas. Now, for what I'm getting already, aromas, I would kind of associate this aroma with two things. It's got a bit of a citrusy type, so I get a kind of a lemon peel combined with that, and it's not an overpowering lemon peel, but I'm getting a little bit of a kind of orange blossom sweetness to it as well, still leaning towards that citrusy type aspect. And then thirdly is a kind of a subtle fresh lima bean kind of taste. There is still a bit of a vegetable element to it. Okay. One of the things you'll also notice, we're going to go ahead and look at our dry leaf, the colors here, and you will see that you're getting silvery colors. There is a lot of fuzz or kind of down about this. Even when you look inside your container, if you get a sample like this, you'll notice that there's a dusty, downy coating sticking to the walls of your container. Colors, I'm learning about using more accurate terms in my color description. So there's the fern green. There's also a bit of a pear green. These are kind of, fern green is more of a grayish, greenish. The pear green has a bit more of a yellow tinge to it. So those are some of the colors. The silver, the pear green, the fern green would probably be the three dominant hues in that. Okay. Again, these leaves are long and twisted along the middle vein, the main vein of the leaf. So that tells you a little bit about how they are shaped or formed. Okay. Setting that aside, we're also going to be talking about next about our wet leaf. And of course, to get to our wet leaf, we've got to be able to pour. And with a Gaiwan, there's a little bit of technique that you can pick up quite easily. You want to take your lid. One thing I like to do, kind of agitate those leaves in the liquid, because the bottom of your liquor there is probably stronger because it's been steeped down there closer to the leaves. So you give a few circular motions, kind of agitate your water there. Next thing you do, you lean your lid ever so slightly to the side, so you've got an opening here for air to come in. You've got a very narrow crack on this side for the water to come out without losing or pouring out leaves into your cup. Take your longest finger, your thumb, gently grasp the rim. Be careful, it can still be hot depending on temperatures of your water and how long it's been steeping. Index finger on top of the lid to hold it down, keep it secure, and we pour right in. When a quick fluid motion, smooth motion, again, turn it towards you is the last there to get those last drops out, and there you are. Liquor is ready. Of course, we're going to be talking about our wet leaf, and our wet leaf we'll be noting about three things really: the shape of the leaf, the color of the leaf, and first the aromas of the leaf, because the aromas can dissipate as the temperature cools off. So to get your aromas, you want to be careful, of course, of the steam in the beginning, but get a few sniffs and make your notes about that. When you're ready to come back and join us, we'll be talking about the aromas here. If you needed to pause, be sure you're able to come back to this point. Now, I'm getting a bit of a green bean aroma to this already. Also, at the same time, it's got a hint of sweetness, like kind of like fall wet leaves that have been sitting in the forest, on the ground of the forest for a while. There's that kind of sugary sweetness that builds up in natural vegetation. There's sweetness. There's the green bean aspect to it as well. Again, the colors, the colors that I would say that best describe the words for color are chartreuse and a kind of a spring bud. These are I'm trying to choose colors that come from Wikipedia that describe colors that are found on many of your color palettes for computer screens. Okay, so I'm also pulling out a few leaves as well, just to kind of look at those. There is still a bit of a kind of a very hint of a zesty kind of citrus smell coming off the leaves as well. Now a few of these, let's get a couple more. But you will notice already, yeah, that's enough, that these are very tender little tips. They're brightly colored. You've got a main tip with leaves, new young leaves coming off of the sides with a young, tender, brand new, unopened many times leaf there in the center. Lots of tippiness there. There's another tip and a third one as well. Yeah. So, tippy, delicate. Those are the words that we're using to talk about these lovely spring-looking leaves that we have. Third, we want to look at our liquor here. Be able to enjoy this. We've been looking forward to tasting this for several minutes now. And of course, as we taste and make notes about taste, we're talking about aromas. We're talking about the texture. How does it feel in your mouth? A lot of people just go to taste and quickly make a judgment. Oh, it's grassy tasting. We want to talk about, let's go beyond grassy. Let's talk about texture. Let's talk about aftertaste. We want to talk a little bit about any kind of astringency or bitterness. Sometimes you'll have a salty, sweet feel to these as well. So there's aromas and there are tastes. So again, make your notes. You don't want to delay too long. Perhaps you do. Perhaps you want to pause a few minutes, make a few tasting notes here at this temperature, at this time, pause it, and then a few minutes later, as it's cooled, see if you detect anything new. That can be an interesting experiment with some teas. But if you're ready to join with us now, we're going to slurp the tea. We're going to draw off some flavors from it. We're going to swirl it around in our mouth so that we get the feel and texture of it throughout. First thing that hit was this bit of a zesty type zing that I got. Okay, and it hit the front of my tongue as I swirled around, not so much. As I swallowed, hit again on the sides of my tongue. Quite interesting. It's got a bit of a freshness there. The aromas and the aromas, I should say, are very subtle, or quite subtle, especially compared to a black tea and a lot of your oolongs as well. Okay, aftertaste is fairly steady and consistent. Let's go ahead and give this one another try again. One thing I forgot to do, of course, was talk about our color, and we are getting a quite pale yellow. Again, our textures or our aromas that we're getting here, still a bit of a zestiness from that lemon, kind of lemony aspect. I'm getting a bit of that lima bean aspect, uncooked, like a fresh kind of green lima bean type taste, as aroma, I should say. Again, although it's very subtle and gentle, the texture is it's not what I would say is watery. It's very smooth. It's very consistent. It doesn't get all, some of them, if they're too light, they get kind of metallic feeling in your mouth. And this one does not. So it's subtle. It doesn't have a lot of astringency to it. It's a light astringency, I would say, for a green tea. Little to no, I really didn't detect any bitterness to this tea. So that's a good sign of good quality. There's not bitterness, subtle aromas, gentle textures to it. So overall, and because that aftertaste remains consistent, we did have those characteristic green tea type bean slash a little bit of, some of them also do have a little a zesty element to them. General subtle textures, smooth in that texture as well. Bitterness and astringency were low or non-existent. We gave this one a pretty good score. I gave it a 93. Look forward to this tea. We could see why a person, a Buddhist, for example, from Japan, not only would appreciate the ability of tea to help them meditate, but they could also appreciate and enjoy, would want to take that taste home back to Japan and share it with others. So, in your home, I hope that you are finding, or in your place of work, wherever you enjoy your tea, you are enjoying that calm, invigorating, and wonderful taste of teas like Harney's JinShan green tea. I'm Jason Walker. This is Walker Tea Review.